One of the major threads that runs throughout Refigure Ground encompasses ideas relating to simulation and virtuality. First of all, what does virtual mean? This is a term used in loads of different contexts and with somewhat varying meanings. According to the dictionary, the virtual is something that is almost or nearly as described, but not completely or according to strict definition. In computing, the term means not physically existing as such, but made by software to appear to do so. So, for example, your computer is a virtual desktop because it's not literally a desktop. It's on a physical desk made out of wood, but it simulates the various functions that an office desktop would carry out. And there's an important distinction to make here with terminology. As Lev Manovich puts it in his most recent book, Software Takes Command, software is a layer that has permeated almost all aspects of our lives. This may be true, and sure, digital culture affects physical culture and vice versa. It is important to remember that these spheres are separate. They may affect each other and may seem to mirror one another at times, but both are based on their own material specificity. For this reason, I look to anthropologist Tom Belsdorf, who has spent his career researching virtual worlds. He writes that conflation of physical with real and digital with unreal, even in rhetorical passing, have devastating consequences for addressing the reality of the digital. Basically, what he's saying is that the digital is just as real as what's going on in the physical world. It's just mediated by different materials and reliant upon different rules than we're accustomed to in the actual or physical world. Instead of opposing the virtual to the real, as the virtual is most certainly real, the virtual is opposed to the actual. You can think of it this way: virtual equals digital and actual equals physical. This is both straightforward and complex. To elaborate how this is important and affects all of us, Belsdorf puts it this way: the spatially and temporally specific social realities are no longer limited to the physical world. The processes of moving through space and establishing common grounds can now take place online as well as offline. Confronted with multiple embodiments and thus with indexical fields of reference that are multiple in a new way, we thereby face the virtual as an emergent set of social realities that cannot be straightforwardly extrapolated from the physical world. Think about the last conversation you had on Instagram. This was not an actual conversation. You didn't speak to anybody or even meet them physically in person. You never opened your mouth. Yet it was a real conversation, one that had meaning that affected how you went about your day. The conversation was based off of goings on in the actual world, yet took place in a form specific to the internet. For example, did you use an abbreviation or an emoji? It's pretty difficult to say eggplant, laughing face, shooting star in physical conversation to the same effect that it has online. Because the virtual is indeed real, yet not actually imposed upon our physical life worlds, virtuality and simulation can be a profound tool to envision and enact alternative futures that reject binary or Cartesian understandings of the world. For example, take a look at Snow Yunjae Fu's Karst. In this work, the artist has recreated a cave inspired by her own experiences in her hometown in southwest China. Any viewer of the show at Arbeit Gallery Refigure Ground can traverse this virtual space, experiencing a simulated version of Fu's own memories. As she puts it, she has created liminal spaces in between the representational and the theatrical, the limited and the multidimensional, and the abstract and the real for people to visit and experience. Indeed, the concept of a liminal space, one which is neither here nor there, neither real nor unreal, permeates much work done in this field of simulation. This idea has played a major role in Claudia Hart's work, who conceptualizes virtual reality as an architecture of the mind. Her piece, The Flower Matrix, plays out like a modern adaptation of the Minotaur's Labyrinth from mythology. Aiming at total immersion, this is a hybrid space that fuses 3D architectural models and an edited selection of symbols for power, money, addiction, and control, with a physical augmented reality environment that expands off-screen and into the actual gallery space. As a result, the viewer loses touch with what is actual and what is virtual. All becomes real in this swirling mess of hybridity. This work is oriented towards Hart's goal, which is to consciously isolate and define a formal language native to the virtual, understanding these liminal spaces on their own terms and extrapolating how they might impact how we conceive of reality. Eva Papa-Margariti's work in simulated virtual environments takes an equally fantastical turn. In But For Now, All I Can Promise Is That Things Will Become Weirder, Papa-Margariti has fused images and video taken from her physical life with virtual worlds that she has created using 3D rendering software. Actual footage of teacups and dance floors are juxtaposed with outlandish environments that combine rigid corporate architecture with bizarre biological entities. This is a simulation of a speculative future, both rife with promise and teeming with toxicity. It's a world that could only be imagined and enacted in virtual space. While these breathtaking environments that are simulated may seem like a far cry from our actual lived experience, they provide windows into potential or alternative futures and help us to come to terms with how virtuality can help us to understand the accelerated changes happening in the world around us. In this way, digital technologies provide virtual pathways for us to expand our identities past social or physical constrictions and embody hybrid experiences in new ways. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't yet, be sure to check out part 1 in this series where I discuss digital objects and the affordances of digital materials.